What's up, everybody? Welcome to the new episode of Devin the Bear. Today we're going to be talking about the UFC card coming up, headlined by Anthony Smith and Ryan Spann. Some pretty solid fights on that card. I would say, if we're talking like prelims, which one is worth looking out for? I think you got quite a few. Not the main event, or not the headline of the prelims, but the co-main is one that I think is going to be pretty cool, and that's going to be the Mata and the Van Camp fight. I feel like that one's going to be pretty solid. We're going to probably see some good old-fashioned brawling, striking techniques with some good wrestling, and you have JP Baez fighting. JP Baez.
Yeah. He's taking on Montel Jackson, who's actually a really good fighter. I would say he's a really good fighter. Pretty impressive resume. JP Baez is coming off of his knockout loss. Was that about back in March?
Yeah,
April?
It's been a bit now.
It's been a little bit since we've seen him. He made his UFC. He's won the Contender Series. He actually beat Jacob Silva to get in the UFC, which is so he won that fight by guillotine. He comes in the UFC, has a lot of hype around him. And then he ends up getting knocked out pretty nasty. And so he's taking on Montel Jackson, a guy with very heavy hands. And I feel like with Baez, he kind of has a lot on his shoulders, considering that his wife has one of the best knockouts we've seen all year.
Yeah.
And, she's talked about their financial problems. I know he probably hasn't been very open about it. And so for me, it's like I think he has a lot coming into this fight because he has to really consider, like, okay, how am I going to make... Like, we have to show that the Baez couple is here to stay, and he has a very tough challenge in front of him, Montel Jackson.
I feel like there's never been a real, like, power couple in MMA.
No.
So this could be the first one?
Even...
maybe not?
Nina and Amanda Nunes aren't even a power couple. So, I mean, how many couples have there been in the UFC?
There's not a lot, but I know there's been a few.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on them now.
Yana Kunitskaya and Thiago Santos.
Yeah,
I mean,
almost there. Again,
Santos is overrated though. So I mean, it's whatever.
He's fun to watch.
I'm just kidding. I actually really like Thiago Santos.
Then you have Ronda Rousey and Travis Brown.
Yeah, but they got together whenever their hype was dying out though.
Yeah, I'm just saying couples.
Yeah, couples. You got a point. I don't know, but
Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas.
I was thinking about Pat Barry the other day, and I wish that he would have had how cool he is. I mean, there's some very suspect things about him, but like he's an all around cool guy. Seems like a really cool guy, but it's just crazy to me that he never really made it big in the UFC though.
He's just too small for heavyweight in the UFC. The talent is huge. And his talent is huge. He's a very talented fighter. He's a very talented striker. But there's just too much going on.
At the time, especially.
At the time, yeah. I mean, like his fight against Stephen Struve says it all, I think. Yeah. And Czech Congo.
Yeah.
Even though I hate that one, I think that one should have been stopped prior. But his fight against Stephen Struve, he was winning that fight. And then he got caught in a triangle. But it's like, yeah, why would you engage in that at all with Stephen Struve?
You got fucking Stretch Armstrong under you, man. Like you don't fight, you don't do that. But yeah, then his fight with Czech Congo, it still aggravates me till this day though. Like when I think about it.
I feel like that one should have been stopped earlier.
Yeah.
But again, he just couldn't finish Czech.
Walked in with his hands down against a fucking guy who's prison built. I mean, that guy's gonna rock your shit.
And Czech Congo's had a lot of success in Bellator now, so he's still got it. You can't ever sleep on the dude. No. And I know you darn near put him to death, but
3 times? Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, no, that I wouldn't have been mad if they would have stopped that fucking fight at all.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's kind of the story of Pat Barry. Anyway, though, back to the card, I guess.
Also, Gustavo Lopez is fighting on this card. Yep. For anybody that keeps up with Adrian Yanez, that name might sound a little familiar. Adrian Yanez has a win over him. I want to say it was 3rd round knockout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's taking on Hailey Alating, so another Chinese fighter. And so, with Alating, he has a very splotchy record as well, though. He's 14-8. But his last fight was against Casey Kinney. So, I mean, any fight with Casey Kinney's always been pretty fun to watch. It was a little over a year ago. And so Gustavo's coming in and he kind of proved a point. So I think that's another guy on the prelims that we needed to look out for, though.
But yeah, so moving on to the main event, or the main card, you have Tony Gravely fighting Nate Maness. That fight should be pretty solid all the way around, I think. I don't see that fight going past the second round.
No.
That fight's going to be a finish, I'm sure. So that one will be a fun one to watch. It's a good way to open up the main card.
And I always get excited watching these guys that are in the bantamweight division. It's such a stacked division, and we're seeing a lot of newcomers coming in, trying to make a splash. And so I don't know. I should always get excited watching those guys fight.
For sure. And that one's definitely going to be no short of that. Then next you have in the middleweight, you have Joaquin Buckley coming back, and he's fighting Antonio Arroyo. That fight, striker versus grappler. So that one's going to be interesting. I feel like Antonio Arroyo gets us to the ground and gets a submission, but how do you predict something against Joaquin Buckley?
Yeah.
He's such a wild striker. You can never really know what's going to happen.
He's a little fucking filet mignon, little beef nugget, dude. He's fucking he's fucking jacked.
Yeah.
If you look at him, he's not very tall. He's only 5'8". I mean, he's taller than me, but that doesn't say much. And he's coming in, and he's coming back off of his recent knockout loss against, it wasn't Di Chiricchio.
Yeah.
He's coming back after that. But with Antonio Arroyo, he's never been knocked out also. His last 2 losses have been by decision. And so we're going to have to kind of see how is Joaquin Buckley going to be able to make the fight his fight as well. He's a very, very hard hitter. Antonio Arroyo, obviously, he's the better jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
And so
Buckley's cardio has been in question before, so.
Yeah, and, with Antonio Arroyo, I mean, he's been there before. He's been a decision before.
Yeah.
I mean, Buckley has as well, but it's going to be more really of who can just kind of put that right there, who. I think Antonio Arroyo does take that one, though. Yeah,
we'll see. It'll be an interesting one. And then in lightweight, you have Arman Sarukian, and then you have Christos Giagos. That fight, again, just like with the bantamweight fight, I think that one should be pretty entertaining. And I actually don't think this one is going to get a finish. I think it's going to go to decision. I think it should be a fun one. It won't be one of those boring decisions, but I think both fighters are going to be... They're both heavy grapplers coming into this.
Yeah.
But when you have those situations, when they're pretty evenly matched, which I think these guys are, you get exciting fights.
Yeah.
But I don't think either guy's going to be able to finish the other. I think it's going to go to decision, but I think it's going to be a lot of standing in the middle and throwing, and then whoever gets hurt first is going to go for the takedown, not get it.
Yeah.
Recover up a little bit, and then go right back to striking.
Yeah, it's going to come down to who has the better boxing. I think Christos is a guy, though, he goes for the finish. And so I think he kind of has that edge in his corner, that he has the will and the want to go for that finish. While Sarukian, he's more just kind of like, just wants to grind you out and just get the win. Yeah. And so I think Christos has that in his favor. And Arman, I mean, he's a good fighter. His only loss in the UFC is to Islam Makhachev. So, I mean, you really can't hold anybody accountable. No shame there. Yeah, you can't hold anybody accountable when they lose to Makhachev. So I think that kind of says a lot about that, So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yep. Then the next fight on the card is Ariana Lipsky and Mandy Baum. That fight, Ariana Lipsky should be the heavy favorite.
Yeah.
I don't see that fight going any other way. She's very good. She's very well rounded, and
former KSW women's flyweight champ.
Yeah, and her only losses are gonna be to like really big names like Joanne Calderwood, Molly McCann, Antonina Shevchenko, and Montana De La Rosa. So her losses are kind of ones where it's like, what do you think is gonna happen? They're really freaking good.
Yeah, I mean, she's young. She's still learning,
Yeah.
And so...
But I definitely don't see that fight. I don't see that one getting finished. I see it going to decision, but I feel like she definitely takes it. Because it's not to take anything from Mandy Baum. Mandy Baum's going to be a really good, tough matchup for her.
I've never seen her fight before. I'm not too familiar with her.
She's, in my opinion, she's nothing special yet.
Yeah.
But she's a very solid fighter. Just one of those middle of the road people. She'll get there.
Yeah.
I think that Ariana Lipsky's already kind of there, though.
Yeah.
She's just hit some bumps in the road. Like
Very tough competition.
Tough competition. So she's figuring it out. She's already had those losses so that she can figure out. Mandy's still getting there as well. But I think that Ariana's a little further along. So I think she gets the win by decision. She usually gets pretty decent submissions hit in, but
Yeah.
I don't think she's going to be able to get that in this one.
Yeah, I guess you definitely see this one going to decision as well. So, on to the co-main event, we have Kutsulaba taking on Devin Clark in a fight that can be really, really fun, or it could be really boring.
Yeah, it's either going to be very exciting in the first round. I think no matter what, it'll be exciting in the first round.
Yeah.
Then the second round, it really depends on how the first round went.
I'm excited to see what Kutsulaba does at the weigh-ins, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he ruins the whole thing, or because now if you touch the other fighter, you get fined pretty heavily now.
Yeah. Well, I thought they. Well, I think
they cancel the fight.
Cancel the fight.
Yeah, they cancel the fight. So I don't know, man. Paint yourself green again. Just don't touch him.
Yeah.
Freaking go out there looking like a Super Saiyan. Who knows, man? Who cares?
That'd be fucking wild if he did that. But with this fight, though, it's Ion. He always has a really great first round. But he never really does anything significant after that. I don't know what it is, but he consistently gasses out after the first.
Because he tries so hard for that knockout.
Yeah.
And he feels like he's going to get it, so he tries even harder. You look at his fights against, I'm blanking on his name.
Dustin Jacoby?
No.
Glover?
It's not. Is it Makhachev?
Oh, Ankalaev. No.
Ankalaev.
Ankalaev, yeah.
Anyway, you look at his fights against him, and yeah, he throws bombs and he can hurt you. He can put you away.
Yeah.
But if you keep doing that and you're not putting him away, all you're doing is killing yourself later in this fight.
Yeah.
And against Devin Clark, that's kind of what Devin Clark enjoys. He likes, hey, you come out here and gas yourself out. You throw yourself at me and you're not going to win it. So now I'm just going to win the fight by decision because what else do I need to do?
Now I do remember Devin Clark. I always knew the name. I couldn't remember what fight I watched with him, but it was whenever he fought Alonzo Minifield. And there was a lot of hype coming in with Alonzo Minifield, and it was a really, really boring fight. They just kind of stared at each other for the longest time.
Like I said, Devin Clark is going to let you throw yourself at him, but in that fight, Alonzo Minifield was trying to play smart. He didn't throw himself he didn't go after it, so he just sat there. It's because he fights very smart, and he tries to get the win through counteractions. But if you're not doing anything, if you're waiting for him, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And Eon's going to fall right into that. But the thing is, you can't play with Ion Kutsulaba. The dude hits so hard. Yeah. So it really does. That first round is very important. Depending on how that first round goes, if it goes to the second round, we're gonna see Devin Clark really start to shine in the second round, I think.
Yeah, and so I think that I agree as well. I mean, it's just gonna depend on how is he able to withstand the storm of Ion Kutsulaba. Yeah. You look at most of his finishes; they're all in the first round for a reason. His last win, though, wasn't until 2019. He's lost 2 fights. Technically, he's lost 1 because it was against Ankalaev, and that was just that really bad call by the ref. And then he has that draw with Dustin Jacoby. And so it's just he needs to go out there and get this win. He needs to make it happen. And I think Devin Clark is smart enough to make sure that Ion Kutsulaba doesn't do that.
Yeah, I feel like Ion knows he can do it, though. Yeah. Because, I mean, with hands like that, anybody, you can always do it. That chance is always there. Call it a puncher's chance if you want. It's always there. Yeah. So, yeah, I think he can do it, but I think he's just got to be careful with that because, like you said, Devin Clark's smart. So I know we're just kind of being a little redundant here, but I'm going to say it again. That first round is important. If Ion doesn't pace himself and he doesn't get that knockout, he's not winning that fight. Yeah. And I think if he does gas himself out, I could see Devin Clark getting the finish.
Well, it's like, the reason why Ankalaev got the finish on him in the first round is because
how gassed out he gets.
Ion Kutsulaba, he got gassed out, but then he also has a lot of reckless abandonment. Yeah. And he just dropped his hands, and fucking Ankalaev is in a joke and slept him,
Yeah. And so, I could see the same thing happening with Devin Clark.
Yeah. And so it's definitely going to be one. I'm kind of looking forward to it, but I'm kind of not because I'm like, this is going to go either way, Yeah. So onto the main event though, we have Anthony Smith taking on Ryan Spann. And I'm a big fan of Anthony Smith. I think he holds himself very well spoken. Some of his fights in the past, since the John Jones fights, haven't been some of my favorites of his. They've been kind of boring.
Well,
and
this one can't be.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Spann's not going to let it be boring.
No, he's not. And, I mean, he only has one loss in the UFC. And also on the Contender Series. But that was back in it was 2017. But his one loss was to Johnny Walker because he got kind of sloppy. And he had Johnny Walker really, really hurt. Yeah. And he jumped on it, but kept his hands down, got caught himself, and then he was mad about the stoppage. But it's like, I mean, what can you be mad about? Yeah. But then again, somebody like Anthony Smith, you really can't go in there just, throw. You can't go to war with that kind of guy. You have to just pick your shots. You have to be smart with it. Somebody like Anthony Smith. And
I mean, that's why Anthony Smith's last few fights, I'll say his losses, they were maybe not the most exciting. Like you look at the Glover Teixeira fight. Glover Teixeira stayed on the outside and picked him apart, which is crazy because Anthony Smith is so much bigger, or at least longer. But it worked out, and I think Anthony Smith has worked on that, though. You look at his fight against Jimmy Crute, that first round, he looked real good with that jab.
And he was picking him apart,
If he uses that jab against Ryan Spann, I don't see him getting in on him. Because I think he figured out, hey, these guys are keeping their range on me. Even if I'm the longer fighter. So if he fixed that by working his jab and really learning to utilize it, I think the fight gets a bit more interesting.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I mean, you got Ryan Spann who's coming in. He has a 5-inch reach advantage too. So it's going to be how is he going to be able to utilize that against Anthony Smith? Anthony Smith is a lot more durable at 205 than he was.
He has 5-inch reach over Smith?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And so, just to think about that. He has 81-inch reach advantage.
81?
81, and what's that? Anthony Smith is 76.
That's crazy.
And you got Ryan Spann, who's kind of, I would say he's controlled chaos sometimes, but when he gets sloppy, he gets very sloppy. And he's kind of, there's a lot of hype behind him coming in, but then again, like I said, Anthony Smith is very much more durable at 205 than 185. You look at 185, he had guys like Thiago Santos fighting him. At 205, John Jones couldn't even finish him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Who's John Jones finished, though?
What's that?
Who's John Jones finished, though?
Dude, that's what I'm wondering. When's the last time he finished the fight?
Yeah, it's been a bit.
It's been a very long time since he's finished the fight, but yeah, we're going to consider him the number one pound for pound.
Yeah. Kamaru Usman, number one.
Yep, all the way.
Sorry, John. I'm a fan.
I'm not.
But yeah, so that's the UFC card coming up this weekend. Like I said, it's a lot of fights that are interesting matchups. I think that's kind of what makes this card is there's a lot of interesting matchups. You have a lot of striker versus grappler, and you also have a lot of grappler versus grappler. I definitely think it's gonna be one of those where, like you said, whoever has the better boxing is going to win. Yeah, and I mean, I think this card is also a good lead up for guys that are trying to make their name in the sport because the roster is so big that they're constantly. When you get your chance to put on a good show, you have to do it. I mean, we have a really really big card coming up next weekend. So the Ultimate Fighter finale or the coaches, Ortega. Because they're not the same thing anymore. Well, Volkanovski versus Ortega is happening next week, and I mean that card is fucking stacked. Yeah, that's the one with Amanda Nunes, right? No, I think that fight got postponed all the way to like November. Oh my gosh! And so so I think it just kind of makes sense. So just it's Shevchenko and Lauren Murphy. That's who it is, yeah. And I really hope Lauren Murphy takes that one. But it's Valentina Shevchenko. Yeah, I'm. Shevchenko trains Houston sometimes, so you know. And so that's the hard part too. Is like they both train with Bob Perez sometimes. Yeah. And so it's like I wonder where Bob's position on that fight is. I'm sure it's with Lauren Murphy. I think she's a bit more steady. Yeah. Over here. It's just it's no hard feelings. It is what it is. Yeah. She trains there more. So, I mean, you're fighting to earn a title shot, so they finally got the title shot, you know. And so I'm looking forward to Lauren Murphy going in there and doing her thing. I would like to see her get the win. I mean, it's against a very strong challenge. Yeah. Like probably one of the greatest female fighters of all time. But it's just also just to go in there and just show that Bob Perez is a great coach. I feel like he got a bunch of slack after his Derek Lewis fight. Yeah. Which I don't think it's his fault at all. He did the best that he could. It's definitely a weird one. But and we had talked about that, but it's definitely a weird one. But yeah, that there's going to be a lot of really good matchups on that card coming up that we're excited to talk about.
I'm trying not to talk about it.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm cutting past it. Because I am too, and I know I'm going to do it if I don't stop now.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of matchups, we have an interesting matchup made over in One Championship, and they're kind of doing something very unique that I really hope people pay more attention to.
Yeah.
On December 5th, you have Demetrius Johnson set to fight Rod Tang in a fight where the first round will be a Muay Thai fight, second round will be MMA, third will be Muay Thai, and fourth round will be MMA. So that's going to be very interesting. That is one of the first times that style of fight has ever been done on this level of the level that it is with ONE FC. Bellator's never done anything like that. UFC's never done anything like that. It's crazy. Like, Bellator has kickboxing, I believe, or at least they used to.
So what they used to do was, this when Scott Coker first joined the promotion.
Yeah.
They would have a kickboxing ring, and then they have a MMA ring.
Yeah.
And so they would put on separate fights at different times so people could tune in.
So just like that, ONE FC has also, they have Muay Thai fights and they have kickboxing fights. I think they also have jiu-jitsu and MMA, but now they're kind of combining into one fight. Yeah. So I think that's really, really interesting. And we're definitely going to talk about that more later on. Like I said, that's December 5th, but just how cool is that, man?
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, does Demetrius Johnson have the stand to compete with Rod Tang? Because the first round is going to be...
Rod Tang is a madman.
The first round is going to be a Muay Thai round. And it's kind of like, comes to question is... And I believe that ONE FC, the way that Jeremy explained it to us when he was on, is they do max Muay Thai, which is 5-minute round instead of the traditional 3-minute round. And so it's going to be usually, like, he also did say that with traditional Muay Thai rounds, you take it easy for the first couple rounds because it's just an unspoken rule. Now with max Muay Thai, it's straight balls to the wall going at it. And so is Demetrius Johnson going to be able to stand for 5 minutes with Rod Tang? Because his best bet is to go out there in the second round, take it straight to the ground, and beat the shit out of him as much as he can. And then, so when that third round comes, like, Rod Tang's beat up, but the Rod Tang's too tough.
Definitely going forward and, like, trying to put Rod Tang away in that first round is not a good idea. I don't think, even if you're Demetrius Johnson. Rod Tang loves it. He wants to get hit in the face because that gets him in the fight. So if you give him that, you got to be careful. He is a dangerous man.
Yeah.
That dude hits people with anything. Elbows. I mean, obviously it's Muay Thai, so elbows, punches, kicks. Knees.
Yeah.
The definition of Muay Thai. But it's just really interesting.
You want to check it? If you ever want to check him out, look him up on YouTube. He has a list with the ONE Championship. It has almost 5 million views. It's Rod Tang's most savage moments because he is a fucking savage, dude.
He'll stand there while you're punching him, and he'll laugh at you. And this isn't one of those things where he just took a punch and he laughs, like a lot of fighters do. While you're punching him, he'll be laughing and he'll just stick his head down and walk forward. Yeah. Dude's crazy.
So that's what I'm very excited for. So one thing we didn't really get to talk about though was the Triller fights this past weekend. Whatever the fuck that was.
What I would want to talk about from that fight is, man, David Haye looked really good.
I didn't see that fight.
No one did.
And so,
but I thought it was really good. I thought it was so cool to see David Haye do really well. He won every single round. Yeah. It was awesome. He looked just like his old self. Granted, I'm not saying he is, and he can go out there and do it, and he should. He just looked good. So it was cool to see David Haye go out there and put out some show that he still can do it with boxing. Yeah. But what people want to hear is Anderson Silva, Tito Ortiz. Start with there. Yeah. Tito Ortiz got put to sleep.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I heard Dana White talk about this after the Tuesday Night Contender Series, and he said, "What did y'all expect?" He's like, "Anderson Silva should finish him in 40 seconds in a boxing match." He's like, "Why do you think I try to challenge Tito to a boxing match? Because he can't box. Like, and it's not a knock on him." He's like, "But honestly, he does not have good boxing, and that's why I went in there to do that." He's like, "But, no, that's ridiculous. Like, that shouldn't be happening." He's like, "But I mean, for me, watching from the outside in, I was really happy to see Tito Ortiz get knocked out after he did our boy Chuck Liddell." What he did.
I didn't want to see him get knocked out like that.
Oh, I didn't get
but I knew it was going to happen. And
yeah.
Anderson Silva's a pro boxer.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, he is a pro boxer.
Yeah.
That's what he did before MMA, and that's what he's doing now.
Yeah.
And you put a wrestler into a boxing ring, you think they're going to do good?
Yeah.
You think they're going to do well? No, of course not. So I think Dana's right about that. I think back then, though, if Dana had boxed Tito, I don't think it would have went well for Dana.
Not at all.
Now, yeah, I feel like Dana juiced up Dana. He could do it.
He's TRT Dana now. Have you seen him? His face is more red and shit. But also, I think it's a testament to how good Anderson Silva is.
Yeah.
I mean, just to go out there, fucking, and just really compete in a whole other sport. I mean, against guys at his own level, really. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now he just knocked out Tito Ortiz. And people are saying that he should fight Jake Paul, which, I mean, if you really look at the credentials that Anderson Silva has, the fight makes sense for him to fight Jake Paul. Fuck it, give him a big payday. I mean, shit. What's the problem with that, The
problem with that is, what if he loses?
I don't think he loses, though.
It's not about what we think.
Yeah.
It's just, what if?
Yeah. I mean, there's a chance of that every time you step in the ring, though.
Yeah, but not against Jake Paul.
Yeah. I mean,
it's typically against other fighters.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be against another fighter. This would be against Jake Paul. Can you imagine the embarrassment for the MMA community if what most people, I don't say most, but what a lot of people consider the greatest mixed martial arts fighter of all time?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if he lost decisively to Jake Paul? Joke Paul.
Yeah.
That would be pathetic. Do I think it would happen? No, I think Anderson Silva would win that.
Yeah.
But I keep thinking Jake Paul's going to lose. Well, I say that, but I didn't think he was going to lose to a retired NBA player or whatever that first guy was, or Ben Askren. Deep down, we knew he was going to lose. He was going to beat Ben Askren.
Yeah.
Tyron Woodley, though, and it's funny. We had talked about this. Jake Paul, the way he fell against the ropes is the same way Tito Ortiz fell against the ropes. And Anderson Silva jumped on it, and Tyron Woodley tried and failed.
Yeah, and that's...
Or didn't fail. He did exactly what he wanted. Who knows?
Or maybe he did exactly what the promoters told him to do.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, then we saw... but, yeah, I don't know. I feel like that fight makes sense. I think Anderson would give him his biggest challenge, but the thing is, though, is people say, well, that was the guy y'all consider y'all's greatest fighter of all time. It's like, well, he's like almost fucking 50, so...
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, well, realistically, it makes, oh, how cool were you, Jake Paul? You beat Anderson Silva in a boxing match. That's good for you. He's a middle-aged man who's got horrible leg injuries.
Yeah.
Congrats. But at the end of the day, it's still the name.
Yeah.
It's all about the name and Triller or whatever they are.
One of the things that I think I messaged you the other day about it was the numbers for the pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
Or like between 380 to like 500,000. And so it was at 1.3 million, like they were saying. They lied about that. The actual numbers were way less than a million, like $500,000, and that's being generous. It's not even really what they were.
And I think that should be talked about more, because even we were talking about how that's outdoing Canelo.
Yeah.
And if that's not the case, then no one needs to think it's the case.
Yeah, which I think that kind of gives the idea, though, that it's just like it's not really bringing in the numbers everyone thinks it is. Yeah. So, I mean, I still stand by this not being good for boxing at all.
Yeah, I do too. I think cards like what we saw with Tito Ortiz and Anderson Silva, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Because all of these people who are on those cards are legitimate boxers or fighters. They are combat sport athletes with the resume that earned them to the spot to the right to be there. Jake Paul doesn't have the resume. He has the money, and that's it. And speaking of that, Vitor, who was the main event, he was set to fight Oscar De La Hoya, who backed out because of COVID. He got COVID. Was replaced with Evander Holyfield, and Vitor. I was about to call him
TRT.
TRT Tour knocked out Evander Holyfield and then called out Jake Paul.
Yeah. And he said Jake Paul said he won't fight him because he's on the juice.
Yeah.
Like Jake Paul's not on the juice.
Well, they tested positive or clean apparently, him and Woodley.
I fucking doubt that.
Yeah.
But
Just like I doubt the numbers now.
Yeah.
From now on. Forever.
He tested clean, but yet Tyron was the only one who had to do a fucking drug test.
Yeah. The night of.
Yeah. He's the only one that had to do a drug test, so yeah, no, I seriously doubt that. But I don't know. So Vitor Belfort defeated Evander Holyfield by TKO in the first round, and that fight should have never fucking happened.
No.
I saw footage of Evander Holyfield hitting pads before the week of the leading into the fight, and I mean, it was just you watching it. You're just watching the shell of a man. You know, a guy who's almost 60-year-old. You know, who is a prominent heavyweight boxer, has been hit way too many times, and it was like watching his training. For me, it was enough to say, I'm not fucking buying this. That guy shouldn't be fighting him. And then, you know, watching the fight, and then he throws a left hook and he falls into the ropes, like lost his balance because he threw it so hard. And it just was like watching an old man fight. And it's like, that shouldn't have happened. You know, it's disgusting for the promotion to put that on. It's disgusting for Vitor Belfort to feel like he got a legitimate win. Here. It's sad though, dude. Like, you know,
I agree, but it's all spectacle, isn't it?
I don't think people are tuning into the spectacle as much as we think, though. I get on YouTube and just look it up, and I fucking see the results, so I don't have to pay for or watch that card.
But you're tuning in to see it
on YouTube for free.
I'm not talking about buying a pay-per-view. Okay. I'm just saying you wanted to see it. People want to see that.
I wanted to see Anderson versus Tito, though. I did want to see that.
Well, I'm talking specifically with the Vitor and the Evander. Physically, Evander looked great.
Yeah, he was in phenomenal shape.
Amazing shape for his age. And you do have to finish it with that for his age.
Yeah.
Because he's old. And Vitor is not that old.
No.
I mean, he's older, but he's not old.
Motherfuckers look at 19 and give all the shit he's on.
But yeah, if whatever's going on there is going to go on there. But
his fucking piss is more radioactive than passing the tap water, dude. I swear to God. Like, he's got so much shit in his fucking system. But also, so they talked about that Triller advertised these events these fights as professional fights. But then, so before it was exhibition, but they're like, no, this is a professional fight. And the second it ends, they're like, no, this is actually an exhibition fight. These are all exhibition fights.
I forgot they lied about that.
Yeah. Apparently they get a lot of trouble for that.
Yeah, because it's lying to the state.
Yeah. And because exhibition fights, aren't they supposed to put on headgear? Yeah.
Well, no, not necessarily. I think there are stipulations with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I know that there can some stipulate with the Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones fight. That was there was the stipulations like there couldn't be any knockdowns or knockouts and shit,
which makes the whole thing pointless. And that's why they probably didn't want to call it that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. With all that, I don't know. As far as what's going to happen between Anderson, Vitor, Jake Paul, freaking whatever. Hey, Anderson versus Logan, Vitor versus Jake.
See, I think the other way around, though.
You think the other way around?
Yeah, I think TRT Tour versus fucking Logan Paul, because I feel like both those guys are about the same size versus Anderson, who could easily make 190. Versus Jake. I feel like that makes more sense.
I won't argue that. I only say Anderson versus Logan because Logan fought Mayweather, and it's like, okay, you think you're good?
Yeah.
Fight Anderson. Anderson's not going to care about money or about buys or about whatever Mayweather cares about. Anderson's going to try to put you out.
He'd probably happily spar those guys in the fucking in the gym.
Probably in the streets of Kutsulaba.
Oh, and then I also saw some training footage. Mike Perry is training with Lyoto Machida now. So, yeah, I don't know.
Whatever that means.
I don't know.
It's hard to tell what anything means with Mike Perry, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, speaking of boxing, this Saturday at the Galveston Convention Center, Carlos Nava making his third pro boxing appearance, and his teammate Vasquez is going to be fighting for a title. So that's going to be pretty entertaining. Carlos Nava is going to be fighting Deshaun Parker. And I think Carlos, our boy Carlos, he's got that one.
No, Carlos for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's definitely, I mean, I won't say he's going to walk through this guy, but I'm expecting Carlos Nava, like a vintage Carlos Nava performance every single time we go and see him.
Vintage 23-year-old Carlos Nava.
Yeah, he's been doing it since he was 7, though, man.
True, I guess that's true.
I mean, I'm expecting a world-class a world class performance every single time. You know, that probably could have been a really, really good snippet to put on Instagram, and then I couldn't get the other word out. And
Here, say it again. Do it again.
okay, that could easily be. Honestly, we're gonna see this Saturday. We're gonna see another vintage world class performance by Carlos Nava, because he's definitely going to make some. He's going to go out there, and he's going to do what he's good at, and that's beat people up.
Yeah, you look at his speed,
Yeah.
and you look at the power he brings with that speed. It's phenomenal. But yeah, that's gonna be this weekend. We're definitely gonna be there. If y'all want to go there, it's $35 a ticket, I believe.
Yep.
The fights start at 7. Doors open at 6. It's gonna be exciting. The boxing matches so far that the LT Gray Promotions have put on have all been really exciting. I've definitely enjoyed the ones that we've gone to.
Yep.
The first time we went for Carlos' debut, there were a lot of good fights that night.
Yeah.
There's also good MMA fights and bad MMA fights. That was the night of Adesanya and Vittori. But yeah, we're excited to see Carlos go out there, and yeah, we definitely believe that he's going to get the knockout win.
Did you see? Okay, some more boxing news. Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is set. Like they're already talking numbers and everything, and they're also trying to get Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor. You know, remember Amanda Serrano put on a great performance. You know who Katie Taylor is?
Yeah, I don't think Amanda Serrano's going to win that one.
No, I don't think so either.
She's going to get knocked out.
Probably, but it's. I mean, both those women they know how to box. Like they are world class good, and I think that's gonna be an all around fun.
I feel
fight.
like they have very different styles.
They do. Katie Taylor is way more powerful.
Yeah.
But Amanda is she's very technical.
She's gonna pepper you.
Yeah. So also some more MMA news. A fight that's being put in the works for early 2022. Masvidal versus Edwards.
Really?
Yeah, because Masvidal's like, who can give me the title the fastest? And Leon Edwards were like, just say my name, you know it's me. And then somehow, some way, Gilbert Burns got thrown into the mix, and he's like, why don't you say my name? It's like, well, no one wants to fucking fight you. That's why.
You beat Stephen Thompson. I think he should fight, like we were saying before, the best matchup is him and Luque, and that's not going to happen.
No, it's not, because they're too fucking stubborn for it.
Yeah. So, you know my stance. Edwards needs a title shot. I don't think he should fight Masvidal.
Yeah.
If he loses, Masvidal gets another title shot for no reason. Like, I'm just tired of it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't think he should get it. It's that I don't want him to get it. It's just we saw him back to back lose to Usman.
Yeah.
And it wasn't entertaining. It was, you got dominated and then you got knocked out.
Cold.
It's entertaining, but not if you're a Masvidal fan.
No.
Not once in those fights did he look good.
Oh, man, I remember I got shit for that fight, too, because I was like, Usman's going to beat him again, and everyone was mad at me for it. And I was like, he is. Look what he did to him last time. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Sorry for being a fucking purist and understanding the sport.
Yeah, I don't get it. Honestly, Leon Edwards, I don't blame him for taking another fight, but you just wait for that Covington and Usman fight.
I think the UFC is going to purposely try to screw him out of that fight, though.
Who?
If
he were to wait for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they can't anymore.
You know? I mean, look, he just fought Nate Diaz. No one's talking about fucking him anymore. All they talk about is that one punch.
Yeah, but that's been the story every single time. So it's like, how long until you can't deny the number 2 guy every single freaking time.
He's gonna have him and Jorge are gonna go out there and fight. He has to finish Jorge, because that's gonna help his stock out so much to be like, yeah, you finished Jorge.
Well, that's what I'm saying. At this point in the rankings, it doesn't matter about stock. You're the guy now.
Yeah.
They can't deny it again and again and again like they already have.
Yeah.
They can't do it again. Like it's getting to a point where if you're gonna be a legitimate business, you have to look at the rankings. You can't do stock. You can't do attention anymore. What's going to garner the most buys? If you really want to get rid of this guy, put him against a champion.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in him that much, put him against a champion. Usman Edwards, who do you think wins that fight?
Like right now, like hot take?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Usman.
So do I.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
You set up the Usman-Covington rematch. If Covington wins that fight, who do you think wins, Edwards or Covington?
That's a hard one,
I
actually.
think Edwards.
Edwards could. I feel like it's 50-50 for me.
I could see that. I think Covington's wrestling is what would win him that fight, but if he tried to stay striking with Edwards, he would lose.
Yeah, because we've never seen Edwards have to fight against a guy like somebody who fights like Covington.
Yeah.
And so I was also today. I was hanging out and I was watching the like kind of like a preview of Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler, and I feel like people are excited, but they're not talking about it enough.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's one of those things where it's like all those fans who were watching the Robbie Lawler Nick Diaz fight back then, they're not around anymore. And if they are, it's kind of like us. Like we're watching, but we're a little jaded now because we know how cool it could have been.
Yeah.
And that's not what we're getting anymore. Now we're getting WWE, but slightly better.
Yeah.
So back then it was just fighters fighting. Now it's fighters who have some pageantry and have to wear suits and be fancy. And like you look at Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz when they go out there, they don't wear suits.
No.
They wear sweatpants and a t-shirt. And that's exactly what you get. They're fighters. They're not Conor McGregor. They're not Colby Covington. They're fighters. And that's what makes it so fun. So we don't have that anymore. The people who watch it for the fighters, the people watch it for
the entertainment.
Yeah.
And like something I was thinking about today, like the other day, it was like I saw another quote from Sean O'Malley talking about like he has a couple fights left on his contract. He's like, I'll just fight these bums until I get there. And it's like, do you really think the UFC is going to decide to pay him more? I
had the same exact thought.
I don't think he put butts in seats as much as everyone thinks he does.
I think he does, but I think the UFC doesn't care. Again, it doesn't matter. You can sit there and be exciting all you want, but if you're not winning your fights, you're not going anywhere. Yeah. And he wins some and he loses some. So it's like, okay, you're going to fight, random fighters. You're going to fight people below you in the rankings.
Yeah.
And that's how what leverage do you have then for your negotiations for a bigger contract? What leverage do you have when you have wins over people making their debut?
Got all his followers on TikTok. Who gives a
fuck?
Dude?
Exactly. Yeah. So what it comes down to is you have to climb your way up the rankings, and they can't deny you eventually.
And like I understand why people are fans of him. He's entertaining as hell. But the thing is, though, is like it's hard to say he puts butts in seats whenever you look at the cards that he's on. He's always on a McGregor card, and so it's like, okay, true. Like how do we know that he's bringing in these eyes?
I would just say his popularity on social media.
Yeah.
If he's not putting butts in seats, he's getting people interested in the fight.
Yeah.
And that's what you do when you're on your way to being a top 10 fighter.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunately what he is, since he's not a top 10 fighter.
Yeah. I mean, he's not even top 15 fighter.
He's not anymore? I thought, wasn't he 13?
He's never been ranked. Whenever he fought to finally get ranked in the top 15, he lost.
Sucks to suck, I guess.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, too, is like, okay, he's not even ranked either. I mean, what's the argument going to be? Well, I beat all these guys. Yeah, okay, Chris Matinho, you're supposed to beat that guy. Thomas Almeida, when the fuck has that guy won again? Yeah. I mean, before that, you lost to Chito Vera, who's the dark horse of the division. I mean, that guy is so fucking good. He's the guy that you need to look out for. I feel like if him and Aldo rematch again, it's a completely different fight.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know. Like, I get why people like him for sure. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Dude, is he a good fighter? Yeah, I don't think he's a great fighter because he's not showing that he's a great fighter whenever you're not taking on these top competition. You're fighting guys who you're supposed to beat.
Yeah, he's showing he has the potential to be great because you look at what he did against Chris Matinho.
Yeah.
He didn't get the knockout. I don't care. I know Herb Dean called it finish. It wasn't a finish. He couldn't finish Chris Matinho, and that was the fact of the matter. But when you put on a performance like that against a newcomer, you're great. You just aren't great yet.
Yeah.
You aren't officially great. So he has the potential to be great. And it's like, we can see your potential for days, for years. But if you don't ever reach it, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
No one is going to care. How many fighters do we talk about where we sit there and name them and be like, man, whatever happened to them? They're supposed to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
James Irvin, Houston Alexander. We were just talking about them earlier and today. And, they disappear. Nobody talks about them because they didn't work their way up. And they end up losing, or they end up, what might happen here? What happens if, I think it would be stupid to do this, but what happens if USC doesn't re-sign him? What if they're like, you know what, we lost, your contract's expired, but you're not even ranked.
Because he's gonna want more money.
That just means, that just means us re-signing an unranked fighter for a big contract.
Yeah.
What sense does that make?
Well, it's like I kind of want to see like what I wish the UFC would do this, but they probably won't. But it's kind of like what Fury does is like you pick which fighter you're going under. You know, like whenever we buy our Fury tickets, we always pick Jacob Silva and stuff like that. So it's like I would like to see the UFC do that next time, like just to see who really is like on their way up, who really is getting these pay-per-view buys.
Well, I feel like that becomes so hard because the fighters on the UFC have so much more exposure.
Yeah.
When we get excited for a fight or for a fight card, pick a name. You know.
Yeah.
You know how hard that would be with some of these cards?
Yeah. Like
for next week, pick a name. Volkanovski or Ortega, Shevchenko or Murphy. Like, how am I supposed to pick?
Diaz or Lawler.
Yeah. I feel like that would just be too hard because they have so much exposure.
Yeah.
It'd be hard to just pick one.
And so, yeah, you got a point for sure. It's just, I don't know. It's like, I get the hype behind them, but I'm just like, when are you going to elevate yourself and say, okay, I'm worth more money? Then it's like, okay, how? Where are you worth more money?
Well, on the flip side of that, Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
He did what you're saying and I'm saying that Sean O'Malley should have done. He worked his way up in the rankings. Is it exciting? No. He's doing the opposite.
Yeah.
He's worked his way up the rankings, and you can't deny him.
Yeah.
With Sean O'Malley, we're saying you can deny him because he didn't work his way up the rankings.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'd say that's kind of the double-edged sword, and you would definitely want to be somewhere in the middle. That's where the point is. You get to the point that way. That's sword anatomy there. Anyway, so yeah, whatever gets you the furthest is right down the middle, and that's kind of like Conor McGregor. That's what he had.
Yeah,
he had the entertainment, he had the showmanship, and then he went out there and had the wins, and he had the exciting fights. So Leon Edwards, not always exciting, but he's got the wins.
Yeah.
Sean O'Malley, always exciting, doesn't have the wins. What do? You know?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see with him, but it's like...
I kind of want UFC not to resign him.
It'd be kind of funny.
I just think that'd be exciting.
I know Sean Shelby's getting very irritated with him because he's not taking fights.
I'll bet they get into it from what it seems like.
I don't know. He's, I think...
Bellator signs him? That'd be crazy. That would be crazy.
Yeah, I could see them signing him. I mean, he'd probably become a champion over there. He ain't gonna be a champion in the UFC anytime soon. And I mean, he might give some of these guys in top 10 problems, but how are we ever gonna see that when you don't want to fight anybody in top?
By the time he goes to Bellator,
yeah.
I'm not saying these two would ever fight. It wouldn't make sense. But I'm just saying, by the time he's going to Bellator, you'd have Michael Page probably leaving, so he could have that same type of hype that Michael Page had.
Yeah. And like to argue also though, it's like, you know, he like he says that he's always insinuated that UFC protects him from wrestlers because of his style. But the thing is though, you look at from 10 to 15, it's mainly wrestlers. Yeah. All of them. I think the only one who's not is Chito Vera. Besides that, everybody else in there is wrestlers.
But Chito Vera's also got good jiu-jitsu, so he's not too worried about it.
Yeah. And we saw what happened when Chito Vera got on top of him. He knocked him out. And that's one, like, no one, so I feel like people forget that. It's like whenever he landed that elbow, the motherfucker went limp twice, you know? And so I think that's something to look out for as well.
Yeah. Do I think that the UFC doesn't resign him now? They're going to resign him. Mm-hmm. They know what they have with him.
Yeah.
But Dana needs to go have dinner with that kid and tell him, like, hey, this, whatever you're talking about not fighting higher ranked people, if you don't want to fight higher ranked people, if you don't want to work your way up to the championship, why would I resign you?
Yeah.
Why do I want someone who's fine waiting in shallow waters instead of going to the deep end and seeing how big of a fish they can get?
Because you got guys like Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah. Paddy Pimblett would, in the lightweight, who's taken over. I mean, I know it's his debut. He's only had his debut, but
yeah, I've
been calling that for a long time. He's finally there, and
literally went from 90,000 followers to like 418, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Freaking nuts.
So,
yeah, gotta strike while the iron's hot, and your iron's been cool for a while, bro.
So, yeah, man, that's just something that I just figured I'd bring up.
Well, yeah, that'll kind of end this one. We'll end it there. Let us know your thoughts on the Triller fights. Let us know your thoughts on Sean O'Malley and what's going on with him, the welterweight championship picture. And definitely let us know your thoughts on this Demetrius Johnson and Rod Tang matchup. I'm very curious about that. Listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, all that jazz. Like, comment, subscribe. Please comment. Let us know what y'all are thinking.